Hey everyone, we've got another company announcing a Bitcoin strategy. We've also got some altcoin season stuff to talk about. And I want to give an update on btbt. We do have some things to look at on the chart, and we have some recent news there. So first off, Volcon Volcon Inc. to buy over $500 million worth of Bitcoin with private placement funds. Now this private placement is basically dilution. The way that it differs from a typical ATM is this is a private one. And speaking of ATM, they also amended their ATM program to allow up to $1 billion in future equity raises. And as said by the co-CEO of Volcon, John Kim, in an era of accelerating money debasement, holding Bitcoin on our balance sheet represents a strategic move to safeguard shareholder value aligned with a digital future. This placement involves the sale of over 50 million shares at $10 each to institutional and accredited investors. The transaction is expected to close around July 21. And to execute this strategy, they're signing with Gemini. Now, if you're curious about what this company actually is, they're a power motorsports company. These vehicles are not yet available, but you can reserve them. They do have some e-bikes that you can purchase, however, if you got $2,300 to throw down on a electric bike with a speed of 20 miles per hour. Now looking at Bitcoin, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I want to continue to see this sideways action as we finish off July, and then soon we will be testing this uptrend, this green ascending line. I'm happy to see Bitcoin trying to establish this area, establish a nice base, so if we do break out, we have a future reference point, a future point of support that is much more likely to hold up than if we were just to keep running. Now looking at the 4-hour, we did see a massive bearish divergence, and we have cooled off since. Look at that. While the RSI is essentially flat. We did sell off since then, and looking at the 4-hour versus the daily, you can see how we have been trying to establish this general zone, just this kind of sideways pattern. Bitcoin's basically got to break out of the psychological 120,000 to start moving higher. And if we start pulling back, we need to hold this roughly $116,000 area. Otherwise, it's likely that we test the low teens, 113,000 for example. Now we do have some news from Digital. They announced a $67 million direct offering of their shares. This is dilution. And so far, so good. The market has been okay with these companies diluting in order to acquire either more Bitcoin or, in btbt's case, more Ethereum. At some point, the market won't react as positively to news like this. They are offering these shares at $3.06, which we'll talk about in a second. That's a very interesting price, and it's right in the middle of a gap. And they do intend to use these proceeds to purchase Ethereum. Now, looking at the daily, you can see this pretty large gap, and this is right around where they have that offering at. If you're looking for a re-entry on btbt, that would be a fantastic zone to add if we do get it. A lot of people are wanting to chase btbt, but keep in mind that this is still up 100% in a month. Keep in mind that earnings for the Bitcoin miners and the Ethereum holders are slowly approaching. And in btbt's case, they're expecting an unprofitable quarter. They are expecting a record revenue. I think we may be pleasantly surprised because of Bitcoin and Ethereum's performance in Q2. And when this guidance was given, we weren't even through Q2 yet. So I think there are some gains on Bitcoin and Ethereum, which they were holding during that quarter. There are some gains that are unaccounted for or weren't mentioned because of when last earnings was and when their guidance was given for Q2 that's going to be released in August for btbt, August 14. If you're looking to enter or re-enter on btbt, I think selling a cash secured put would be a good way to go. That would get you some premium, and that would get you the opportunity to buy some shares at a lower price if it does get there. Now we do have some news that Pakistan's crypto minister and El Salvador's president are discussing a Bitcoin strategy. And Pakistan's crypto minister has nothing but good things to say about Nayib Bukele. He's a leader from the future, who saw the future first because when it wasn't cool to back Bitcoin, he stood with conviction. Although many of us would say Bukele is even a little late to the party, he's still earlier than a lot of folks and a lot of nations, a lot of states, etc. A great example that you don't need abundant resources to put your country on the map, just vision and unwavering belief. He also had a meeting with Michael Saylor, and if anyone's gonna orange pill you, it's definitely gonna be Michael Saylor. We do have an article from today talking about Altseason. 3 charts scream that it's Altseason as Bitcoin dominance hits 8-week lows. Looking at total 3, this is all crypto excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can see this massive cup and handle. And Peter Brandt also saw a similar setup on total 2, which excludes just Bitcoin. The measured target of this pattern is 2.78 trillion, or 97% rally in the total altcoin market. And responding to this breakout, Peter Brandt says it's alt season. And here's Stock Money Lizard pointing out this break of a downtrend. Fueling the altcoin rally is Ether's 24% performance over the last 7 days. btbt made a prime decision at a perfect time right before alt season. If the cycle is any indicator, they're absolute geniuses for when they decided to get out of Bitcoin and get into alts. But moving on, these 6 months are going to be phenomenal for altcoins, in quote, Michael Vanderpoot. Now, Bitcoin dominance, is Bitcoin season ending? Bitcoin dominance, or Bitcoin's market share relative to the overall crypto market, is one of the indicators commonly used to indicate whether alt season has begun. It reflects overall investor sentiment and risk appetite in the market. The indicator has been on a downtrend since June 27, reaching an 8-week low of 62%. Look at dominance falling off a cliff. Keep in mind, Bitcoin's chart, Bitcoin's just been trading sideways. Bitcoin dominance can fall as long as alts outperform Bitcoin. Bitcoin and alts can go up, and you can still see Bitcoin dominance falling as long as altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. So Bitcoin dominance dropping doesn't mean Bitcoin has to drop. It just means that the alts have to outperform, and that is what is happening. However, we do have the altcoin season index, which is only at 39. Typically, official altcoin season is when you get to 75% of alts outperforming Bitcoin. Only 39% is where we're at. This could be due to the oversaturation of alts, the fact that there's just so many, and that simply just spreads money thinner. So maybe 75% of alts outperforming Bitcoin isn't the definitive alt season official meaning anymore, so to speak. Maybe it's a 50% of alts are outperforming Bitcoin, kind of indicates that we are at this alt season where the best alts are outperforming, the worst projects are getting left behind, just because of how many alts are in existence versus the last cycle. And this kind of sums it up well, from a few hundred to a few thousand and now to a few million altcoins. Very simple, supply and demand is why there is no alt season. Only the top alts will make it. In my opinion, you don't need to go that far down the list to choose a couple good projects. Stick with Solana, Cardano, ETH. You don't need to go past the top 100. And doing so makes it that much more risky. Now looking at Cardano, we are in between 2 points. This was a previous point of resistance. Let me show you. Going back to 2024, mid 2024. If we can hold this, that would be great. Next, we have to take out this roughly 85-cent area, which was a resistance point at certain times and a support at certain times. I would love to see Cardano just consolidate right in this area. One thing to realize, we are a bit overbought. Look at last time we were at this level of overbought, even more so. We consolidated, we cooled down, traded, chopped around for a bit, and then we absolutely broke out and more than doubled Cardano's price. So keep in mind, just because we're overbought doesn't mean it's party over, doesn't mean we just have to drop from here. We can consolidate, establish a nice base, which would be fantastic, and then break out, break 85, and start heading to those 52-week highs. If we are going to be in an alt season, we are going to see a lot of overbought coins, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they just have to drop right after. I mean, look at how overbought Cardano was. For literally an entire month, month and a half, once it reached overbought, we were at 61 cents, consolidated, broke out. Consolidated a little bit, broke out. Pulled back, broke out again. It was really at this point when you saw the price rise, but you saw the RSI fall, that was kind of a sign that the party was coming to an end. So if we do keep running, keep an eye on the bearish divergences. If the price goes higher and the RSI heads much lower, that might be a sign that it's time to cool down in the near future. But I do think following the cycle, we should be due for an alt season. I would expect the coins like Cardano, Solana, Ethereum, which has been doing fantastic. I'd expect all these to continue trending up. You don't need to go that far down the list. The farther down the list you go, the potential for gains might be higher. The potential for massive returns might be higher, but also the potential for that not happening is also much higher. You got to balance the risk and reward. And projects that were here last cycle are going to do pretty well, are going to be a lot more stable as far as altcoins go, at least, versus something going down the list to the 100th coin, to the 200th coin in market cap. So just remember to weigh your risk to reward. Don't go all in on some risky altcoin. In my opinion, Bitcoin should always be the largest position, but this is the point where the alts should shine. Maybe we see Bitcoin gain another 25%, reach 150K, while alts possibly give a 50% or a 100%. maybe even more. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Where do you see Bitcoin going by the end of the cycle? Where do you see Bitcoin going over the next 4 to 5 years? What do you think of the alts? Is it alt season? Do you think all alts are just going to start running? Are we going to see 75% of alts outperforming Bitcoin? Or is the market just simply too saturated and only the top names are going to really outperform? Always interested in your thoughts. Make sure you leave them down below. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.